So what's very interesting is Nick Cannon is all over the internet. He's been all over the internet for the multiple children with the multiple baby mamas. It's so bad, Kevin Hart gave him a machine full of condoms. Is this really happening, is my question all the time. Is he creating another fatherless generation, or is he really building a legacy? I've watched Nick Cannon through this journey, and I got questions because I'm like, is this from pain? Is he really able to be a father to all of these children becomes the question. This is I've Got Daddy Issues, and I'm Dr. Torri J, and today we're going to get into all my children. How is it possible for men to have multiple children with multiple women and still co-parent and give the children the stuff that they need? So today, I got some, we're going to get into this. And as we get into this, the question becomes, is poly the future? Polyamorous and polygamy. To the left of me, I got some people. I got Dr. Steven. I got Miss Stacey J. And I got Dr. Ayanay. I want to get into this conversation because we all have questions. I know I have questions, and I've talked to a few people, and they got the same questions I have. Is he able to sustain? And I'm going to start with you first.
Sure.
Can we define, because he's talking about he's polyamorous and he a polygamous. Can we bring context and define these terms? Because this is your specialty.
Yeah, it's good to start with definitions.
Yes.
Because these terms are being thrown around. Some people are using them somewhat disingenuously, either purposely just because they don't know. So as quickly as I can, the umbrella over all of this is what we call consensual non-monogamy or ethical non-monogamy. And we add the qualifier ethical or consensual because ideally these relationships are not just cheating. Everyone involved is supposed to know what's going on and give their consent to participate in a relationship that does not have monogamy as sort of the cornerstone of it. So under that umbrella, we have swinging, which I think people are fairly familiar with. That's typically a couple, married or not, who will engage with other couples mainly for sexual exploration. You have open relationships, which it varies, but typically that's when someone's in a relationship and they may have permission to have kind of sexual flings outside of the marriage or the relationship. But ideally, those aren't supposed to become emotionally committed, intimate relationships. Supposed to stay pretty casual. Easier said than done, obviously.
Yes.
And then you have polyamory, which is many, amory, loves, is the ability to have multiple relationships and for those relationships to evolve to become sexually intimate, emotionally intimate, fully committed, looking like any other relationship except for the fact that it's not the only one. And I think we may get into polygamy sometimes gets thrown into that, which it's kind of a hot topic. I personally don't really think polygamy, especially patriarchal polygamy, should be part of that umbrella because it sort of operates a little bit differently. And typically, the man has freedom to have multiple partners, but the women don't.
Right, and that's where the rub becomes.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's different. Polygamy and polyamory sort of have different ideals at the heart of it.
Polygamy is patriarchal, as you said it. Can it work?
Oh, sure. Yeah. People have polygamous marriages. It works. We know there's many cultures, many religions who encourage that. So it can work for the folks who are in it. Oftentimes it takes place within a cultural context where this is normal. Polyamory is a bit newer, and it really is very much influenced by the women's rights movement, by feminism, because the focus is on gender equality. It's on personal autonomy.
No, wait a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
So polyamory is to even the playing field.
Exactly.
From the polygamous perspective.
Exactly.
So that's interesting.
So I've been polyamorous myself since about 2019.
This is where he threw me.
Yeah, I am currently in a polyamorous relationship. And my partner, she has another boyfriend. I date other people. No one else I'm dating has sort of risen to the level of partner status yet. But they could. But the point is, I don't restrict what she can do. right? As a woman,
Do you live together? Do you
we
not?
don't.
You
No.
don't.
Yeah, we've toyed with the idea of living together.
Okay.
I'm also divorced. I don't know if I want to live with anybody, frankly, at least not right now. Um,
Polyamorous gives you freedom, is what I've learned.
Exactly.
It gives you some freedom when you don't have the desire to live with a person, be totally entangled with a person. It gives you that. But hold on, Dr. Stephen, because I don't want to
Okay.
leave the
Sure.
ladies out of this conversation because I feel like we can. Let me go to Dr. Ayanay real quick because I see you.
What?
But she biting at the bit, but because I want her to say something, and then I know. No. I want, because he just said polyamorous is bringing this equality to relationships for women. I would have never thought that. I want you to go in because I know she got something to say about this, but I want you to say what you, because I know she's going to piggyback and take it some places.
But he's exactly right. It does bring equality. It allows, well, one, it gives you a choice, right? So I am all about honesty and communication in relationships from the very beginning. Before it is a relationship, you should be honest and communicating. So if you are desiring a polyamorous relationship, that's something that's a conversation that should be had early on. That gives everyone involved the autonomy to make the decision whether or not they want to be in this type of relationship. And if they do, then they have the autonomy again to choose what that relationship looks like. But yes, so it is really about consent, about autonomy, about being able to make choices that work for you and your partner. Doesn't matter what works for other people. This is just about you and your partner and having and knowing up front, okay, this is something that I'm interested in.
Which in some ways, I'm gonna step out of me. This would be a breath of fresh air for those who have been in polygamy and those who have been in relationships that haven't been so honest.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is a breath of fresh air, and it's why we're asking the question, is poly the future? Equality. Come on, Stacey.
No, I was talking to them earlier saying that I've had conversations with some people that are actually in these type of relationships. And the way they explained it to me gave me just a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Because when we think about, like she's saying, it's about communicating, it's about honesty, because people are cheating. People are cheating all over. Mm-hmm. You know, they're with someone that they do love. However, they have the desire to be with someone else.
Yep.
And to me, honesty is the best policy. So we're afraid to be honest because we're taught that we're supposed to be with one person. That's mm-hmm. how we're taught. Mm-hmm. And so to step out or to say, hey, I saw Torri, she's gorgeous, I want to talk to her, that's not heard of. So you sneak. What I'm finding out is this is honesty, this is communication. There's a lot of people that think like this.
Would you do it for yourself? I'm going to ask.
You know what? I can't say I would or wouldn't, mm-hmm. You know, because I'm from old school, so I'm thinking like, I ain't going to be doing this.
Absolutely not.
But also, I've been cheated on. So
yes, there you go.
I'm saying, and the more that I've matured, I understand life a lot better. Yep. So I understand change happens. I understand somebody wake up and I'm just not feeling you anymore, or things have, you know, transitioned into a place that you want to see other people. So there's a commitment, you're married, you know, you just don't throw the person away, but those are things that can happen. So it does beg the question is, are we supposed to be with one person?
So, because I'm asking the question of Dr. Stephen here, like, okay, you guys don't live together, you're outside of the home, mm-hmm. She has another partner. When I look at the Nick Cannon situation, I'm asking, he says he's building a legacy. He's co-parenting effectively with these women. Can he do that?
How many baby mothers are we talking about at this
8
point?
At this point.
8? So there's a term in polyamory called polysaturated. Which
that sounds about right.
Says that
oversaturated.
You know,
yeah.
Love is infinite. You can love an infinite number of people, but there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only 7 days in a week. So, do you actually have the time and the emotional bandwidth to manage all those relationships? 8 children's mothers with I don't know how many kids we're up to at this point. That just sounds like a logistical nightmare. He may have the money to financially support these kids. I do question whether he can really be a present father to all of them. If it was spread over maybe 2 babies' mothers, maybe, but he's got multiple households he's got to be involved with. And I'm thinking about as the kids get older, all the dance recitals and the chorus concerts and the soccer games and the basketball games. I don't know how he's going to manage all that. I don't. So I'm a bit skeptical about
Legacy.
the legacy, whether his practice is going to be able to meet up with the ideal he's putting forward.
So
Go ahead.
I was listening to Nick Cannon earlier today, an older interview, and he said something that resonated with me. There are so many households that have fathers physically present, but either they're emotionally not there, or, I mean, take someone in the military, for instance, who's always being shipped out, or for years for a year or so at a time. These children can still have great relationships with their fathers without seeing them every day. And yes, he may be spreading it thin, but he does have the resources to be present. He can film one day and then, and in the evening be present for a dance recital. Now, if there are 3 on the same day, that's going to be logistically, not possible. But he does have resources that the average person doesn't have.
Does resources negate the emotional connection? Does resources negate the fact that maybe this is out of pain and frustration of his own? Do we see pain in this journey at all with him?
Yes,
I do.
and he does too.
Okay.
He made it clear that he grew up in a household with a grandmother. He didn't have mother or father at times. Mm-hmm. So yes, there's some pain. He is living some of this out of trauma. He's also doing the work. He goes to therapy. Mm-hmm. He admits to going to therapy at least once a week. People aren't out there. Men are not out there doing that.
Tell it.
And not talking about it. So he's actually doing the work. There still may be some pain that's coming through in how he's dealing with it, but he's dealing with it.
But we can get healing in one pocket and ignore another.
We can.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I'm not trying to judge him or step into it. I'm just trying to have a conversation of we heal in silos sometimes, right? And if I'm watching him make these moves, and even your homeboys who we know done cheated, is like, bruh, here's a whole vending machine. You can't put no coins in it, and these are condoms. Like, there is a such thing. Right. Even your homeboys who are broken and hurt are recognizing that there's some pain there. Yeah. What would you say, Stacey? Like, what the heck? Would you be baby number 9?
Well, no, absolutely not. Because as you say, it's a lot to navigate through when you have a lot of kids and things of that nature. For me, I choose not to be a part of that. I understand what he's saying about, there's going to be some neglecting there, maybe. But again, the resources, and when I say resources, meaning he can be there for the most part if he schedules appropriately. I never wanted a lot of kids. I come from, my mom had 17. I have a cousin. This just made me think of him. He has 26 kids.
And that goes into this conversation. Like, not only can you manage that, where is that coming from? You can't sleep with this many people and totally be okay to me. Maybe that's the old school version of me. But how do you sleep? And you're saying 26, how many baby mamas?
Oh, well, I don't know, but we know it's not 2. You know what I mean? And I do think that there's pain or something there, some trauma that they haven't dealt with, and maybe this is that we're expressing it by having more children. But like she said, if they're getting the help, because I do know he's involved. Now, I'm not there where he lives to say that every day he's, and I don't know if they all live in where he lives as well, but I do know he's an involved father. So sometimes when you look, like she says, the fathers that are in the home that aren't there, or the women that are getting pregnant by men that disappear, period.
Yes.
So it's almost like a catch-22, because you have the father that has all the kids that's doing the best that he can and doing the work, and then you have the men that are there that aren't.
I hate to see what his child support payments look like.
My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness. Is it through a court or is it just an agreement? I don't want to know that.
Go that far. Well, I haven't heard anything from the women, which leads me to believe that it's working for them.
Yeah. Or it's under a contract.
It could be.
And it's a Nick Cannon baby. I mean, not to
See,
say
that- no, but
and
that's-
not to-
no,
but not
that's
to
a
say
real
like
statement.
that.
No,
I'm
no, no, no.
thinking if I were younger, because these women are slightly younger, you know what I
And
mean?
they all look alike to
Yeah,
some degree.
they're slightly young, which means that's a
That's a thing.
Um,
I'm like, what?
they're slightly younger. So again, when you say, is this the new norm? I think society is becoming more comfortable with having more than one partner, especially if the father is able financially and even emotionally and physically able to be there. It is, I think, now a consideration.
Okay, so I know this is my new podcast, so I'm a minister too. And that's what my PhD is in. But this is, I got to go here because what came to me was a scripture. Isaiah 4:1. 7 women will come to one man and say, we'll take care of ourselves, we'll feed ourselves, but please just give us your name. There's something in a name. And you just said it a moment ago. That's why I'm going here. It's a Nick Cannon, baby. It's got a name. So are we in that moment where polyamorous is this place where women are coming to men and saying, you can have multiple of us. And yes, because it's polyamorous, we can have multiples as well. We just need your name. Why are we needing a name? See, I'm looking at it from a fatherless perspective. We didn't get our daddy's name. We didn't get a place where we felt we were solid and we had what we needed. And so these women maybe, we don't, right, like you said, we don't know anything about them. Yeah. And that's telling to me as well. That we don't know. We got daddy issues and we're looking for some type of sense of security.
Security.
We're looking for security and safety. Yeah. This world is crazy right now.
It is.
And having a man, whether he's got multiple situations, may be a covering for some people. Don't get it twisted. That ain't for me. I'm going to tell you right now. But I love the fact that it's this place of equality and also safety, I'm going to add.
Probably, yeah, I'm sure that's there. I have dated women before who maybe didn't identify as polyamorous, but once I explained to them what it was, I have had women say, you know what, every man I ever dated cheated on me. So maybe this is better because at least you're going to be honest. I don't know if that tends to work out exactly because what these women usually want is they want monogamy. They just kind of feel like they can't have it. So I'll take this consolation prize of polyamory. And then in my experience, the honesty is actually something that's jarring for them. I've had women say, you know what, I think I'd rather you cheat and not tell me than you.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've heard
That's weird to a lot of people. I mean, it's a very different way of doing relationships, being that open about it. Like my partner has a date tonight, you know, that I know she's going on a date, you know. That's a really weird
That doesn't
thing.
bother you? There's no jealousy that comes up for you?
Yeah. I've worked through a lot, especially as men, because we're conditioned to look at your woman as like your property, right? I've had to work through a lot of jealousy issues to get to a point of comfort like that, both just personally in therapy, reading books, listening to podcasts, the whole thing. And polyamory, if you do it somewhat right, or the way that it's recommended you do it, you have to confront a lot of your own insecurities. You know, it's like another form of therapy in a lot of ways.
I'm
Because
sitting here looking at you like,
as you're processing the jealousy, usually jealousy is about your own insecurity. I think this other person is better than me in some ways.
or I'm
And
not
usually,
enough.
yeah, I imagine this other guy is better than me in all the ways I don't like myself, right? I don't even know him, you know. But, you know, if you're not working through that, if you're not in therapy or really processing it, it's easy to project your insecurities onto other people. Once you kind of get to a point of accepting that my partner's with me because she loves me, I'm not forbidding her from dating other people. So if she wanted to leave me for someone else, she could, but she doesn't have to. She can date other people. She can have another
She
boyfriend.
can have both.
She can have both, and I can too, you know. And so whenever, I still get jealous sometimes, you know, and I'll have a moment, like, okay, do I really want to do this? And it's a trade-off. One, you deal with jealousy in monogamous relationships too. And I enjoy dating other women, you know, so it's a trade-off. It's like, well, she's doing what I did last weekend, and I enjoyed myself, and I still love her. It didn't change my love for her. But it's definitely a process. It's folks who are new to polyamory. That's probably one of the most challenging things to deal with is the jealousy, and how do you process that? I think
It would be hard for me to look at myself and go to therapy saying, I am going to therapy to process jealousy from a place of this honest place, right? They're being honest, and I know they're on a date. I'm like, I have every right to feel jealous. Why am I going to therapy? Because I feel that way. Isn't that a normal, that to me, that's a normal response.
It is normal.
Concerning someone you love and you want them for you.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I've been in the position where I've been, cheated on. And I think now that it's a title to it, it helps you because, like he's saying, is when I got married, it's like, it's you and I, death do us part. We're going to do this thing. You know what I mean? But then as you go through marriage, you find out that it's not all what what those vows were about. So when you get cheated on, you're devastated, you're hurt because you expected this person to be with you and not do anything else. To me, that's just not human. I'm not saying nobody could be monogamous. That's not what I'm saying. Right. What I'm saying is that people have thought, married or not, he fine or whatever.
And let's have that conversation because we're talking about polygamy and polyamorous. But people can be monogamous. This is not, it's not like we have to pick, and maybe it's phases in life, right?
I was married and monogamous before. Yeah. Monogamy was not the problem with my marriage. I did not really struggle that hard with monogamy.
What did you feel like you struggled with?
In the marriage? Oh, goodness gracious. It was a 16-year marriage. That's a whole lot to unpack.
I got you. Okay.
I'll say as the marriage deteriorated, my problem was not monogamy. My problem was celibacy. As things deteriorated and the intimacy kind of got less and less.
Yes, sir.
So that's what it became. If that wasn't
I know that journey.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just leaving it at that.
So when I got divorced and found myself single again, I had learned about polyamory in grad school, so I knew what it was. But I found myself single again in my 40s. And it's like, okay, I'm back in the singles market, but now I get to think about how do I want to do relationships this time. And when I got married at age 27, it was, I'm getting married. Society says this is what marriage looks like. Here's the package. Here's the expectations. Here's what it is. And we just accepted that. And so what polyamory does, I think people think that it's like no rules. It's really not. It's we're going to talk about what the rules are and what rules work for us. Not what does society, our parents, the church, whoever tell us the rules should be. But what are the rules that work for me and you?
And that's what that's the part to me where I wanted to be responsible in this conversation, defining it, having that conversation and structured around it, because I watch fatherlessness all day long. It's what I do. And I recognize that fatherless individuals, whether male or female, are highly sexual. It's where we find safety, comfort, survival, all of those things, and not for good reasons. We're finding it because we don't want to deal with the issues.
Right.
And I believe people now are using the terms polyamorous and polygamy as a way to hide yet and still, but then try to cloak it under something that looks structured, that looks real.
Yeah.
And I don't believe Nick Cannon is doing it very well. I get what you're saying in the conversation, but I still think there needs to be more responsibility as he's delivering this message. And yes, we would like to hear from the women. We would like to, because if it's about equality, I want to know your journey. I want to know where you are in this and why did you sign up for it?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question when you talked about, because Stacey, I'm going to ask you in a minute. This love space, can you love multiple people equally is my question.
I think you can.
Okay.
I mean, we all have multiple friends, right? And we don't think there's anything weird about having more than one friend. You just have to kind of extend that logic to the romantic space. Now, partner I'm with now, we've been together off and on, but for the most part for 3 years, right? Naturally, my love and emotions for her are deeper than someone I've been dating for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But we try not to set up hierarchy in our different relationships where someone is obviously the favored person, but relationships evolve at their own pace. So, my partner has another partner that she's known since her freshman year in college. So they do have a deep love for each other,
So are you the new person in the equation?
I'm the newer person. I'm the newer person.
Right, because you said she's going on a date tonight, so you're the new one.
She and I started dating when she and her other partner were on a break or whatever they were on. They've been on again, off again for a while. Not putting too much of her business out there.
I'm not
But I'm the newer person, but it's not like one of us is primary and the other one is secondary.
Have you loved more than one person at the same time, Stacey?
I have not. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of work dealing with one person and dealing with me. I know it is, but I do believe, like he said, you can. It may not be equally like I love you and her the same because they're different people. So I'm gonna love different things about them. But I think that it can be done. You know, that you can have feelings for two different people. I don't know how far that can go, but two different people, two different ways, but the love is the same.
The same. And that's scriptural. I just need you to know that. I'm going to go back to my scripture.
Praise the Lord.
Come on, that's scriptural. That I love you differently, but I love you equally. And it's a requirement if you're going to do it. And that's what people don't know either. If you're going to call it biblical, you're going to call it spiritual, religious, you have to love them different, but equally. That is God's condition.
If you have more than one child, you don't love, typically, you don't love one more than you love the other, right?
Right. You don't have a favorite. Yes.
Right. You shouldn't have a favorite.
Right.
But, you know, you love them differently. They're different people. They have different personalities. But if both of them were about to be hit by a car, you're going to try and jump in front of both of them, right? As a parent. So if you can have infinite love for your children, you can have infinite love for your friends, you can have infinite love for your parents and your siblings, then why can't you have infinite love for a partner?
I want to ask
or
you,
for partners.
That's true. As a sexologist, right? Looking at the context in which we're talking about this, the foundation and Nick Cannon as a whole, is this a sexual cover-up? Is this, not just him, but others? Do we do this as a sexual cover? I think we do, but I want to ask you as the expert in this space, do we have sex with multiple partners, multiple people? Because something was said earlier, oh, that was you, Stacey, where you were talking about you're having babies. I don't think people going into this to have babies. They're going into this to have sex. Right. And sex produces children. So is this place where they're using it as a sexual cover-up to some degree? Not those who have the pure definition. I'm talking about the ones out here wandering.
A lot of times it is.
Yes.
A lot of times people want to have multiple sexual relationships and not multiple love relationships or multiple, intimate relationships. It is about the physical, and that's okay. Okay, you can have other sexual partners, and I can have other sexual partners as long as we don't meet. We don't talk about it. You go do what you do, and I do what I do, and we come together as a couple. When we come together, just be safe.
Yeah.
Right. Some couples will say, you mentioned swinging. Some couples will say, you can have another sexual partner as long as I'm present, as long as I know the person, I'm present. We can all, and we're either all involved or I get to watch, or whatever that looks like. Again, it's consensual.
But so often it's not.
Right, but that's when it becomes, but that's the problem, right?
So is this the newness that we're moving into? Are we becoming more aware as individuals? Because if I'm looking at all of the stuff that we've watched over the years, individuals saying that they're creating legacies, but they're creating another fatherless generation. And that's the question I'm asking, because I want the sexual relationship, but I don't want the intimate space, which then puts you in a situation where children have a father or may not have a father who could be in the home, and he's emotionally unavailable, he's emotionally detached, and it creates more emotionally detached children.
Right, and that's where the work needs to come in, right? So we have to encourage people to do the work, and it is work. Therapy,
if I don't know I
coaching,
need the work because I'm good, because I don't even know I'm
not
fatherless.
if you're just running around having sex with a bunch of people and you're not, and the person you're having sex with has not consented to you having sex with multiple people.
I'm an adult. I'm grown. I don't need your consent.
Yes, you do.
I'm giving what people are saying, Stacey, and you know that's what people. Because I'm grown and I'm this and I'm pushing back a little bit because that's what people are thinking watching this.
Then be grown and be honest with your partner about what you're doing. And then you give them the choice to stay or leave. That's the thing, is people don't want to give their partner the choice.
Yeah.
I want her, I want to keep her, I want to do what I want to do. But I know if I tell her what's really up, she's going to be gone and I don't want to deal with it.
Because my insecurities say I'm not enough anyway.
And that's what she's saying about the work. Like now I notice when I have conversations, not even about poly, but just my version of dating now. You know, I've been married, I've dated, I've been through enough to know, okay, this is not how I want to date. What is my definition? Because what I was taught was go to school, get an education, find you a man, get married, have children, retire. That's what we know, of what most of us know.
I get
but
it.
now, some of this stuff is like weird. You know, you're like, okay, I don't do that. But do you? You know what I mean? Have you really stopped and talked to yourself to say, how do I really want to date? Because maybe this isn't the way I want to date. So if I be honest with men, or the man is being honest with the woman, you give me a choice. What the problem is, the people that ain't doing the work he'll say, hey, you know, I like to date other people, but this is the parameters. And I go, oh, okay, I'm cool with it. And then the next thing you know, you're not. So that's where the work and being honest. If you don't want to date someone that's dating other people or see other people, say that.
I don't believe majority of the women can handle this.
No, they can't.
I don't believe it. Even if you pay.
Majority of men can handle
Okay,
it.
but
We
okay.
really want. I think
But not
women
in the
have
true definition, no. But a lot of men are talking about polyamory. A lot of men are talking about this, right? From the wrong
It's the
context.
hot new term,
It's the
and
hot.
I think a lot of people are grabbing onto this hot new term that we know about because of Nick Cannon and Will and Jada.
Yes.
That's what put it into sort of the, you know, kind of public consciousness. And yeah, there are a lot of men who use it as a smokescreen just to justify being shady. I've had lots of guys come, oh, Steve, you're polyamorous. I want you to help me. Now, how do I introduce my girlfriend to my side piece? Stop. You already, no, it's already
It's
too
already
late.
wrong.
It's already too late. You've already
Because
started
she's a side
lying.
piece.
Yeah, it's already, you started lying to them, and now you want to sort of retroactively make it polyamory, and that's not
I'm gonna
what
rope this
is.
back to fatherlessness as I do, because it's about I've got daddy issues. And even men, y'all need to recognize. You said it earlier. I got to go to therapy and do all of the stuff I have to do to even be in a polyamorous relationship. Yeah. I got to continuously get my healing to be in a polyamorous relationship. That was like, I had to take that in. Many men aren't going to do the work. No. They're not. Women, we're doing the work. Right. Even if it's our homegirl, we're going to talk. Men hold so much in, and then it comes out in these moments, and I'm trying to figure out, like, how do we get individuals to just admit, I don't feel like I'm enough, because I didn't see a healthy relationship anyway. Mm-hmm. And I saw my father as a Rolling Stone. I saw my mama as a Rolling Stone. I ain't gonna throw you under the bus today, mama. I'm not. My mama had her own situation. And she had her own level of equality that as her daughter, I recognized and said, yeah, that ain't for me. But I'll tell this story. Hopefully she won't be mad at me. I called my mother recently and said, probably 8 months ago, I'll say it that, it was about 8 months ago. And I said, Mom, did you ever want to be married? And she said, And so when someone pauses, what do we say? The answer is no. Yeah. And she said, well, what do you mean? And I said, did you ever think about your wedding dress and what that looked like? She said, people do that? My mother had her own way of being, and I think it goes into something I said about my grandmother. Like, very strong women had an understanding, strong-willed, not from a disrespectful place, but from an honest place. My mother was honest. Yeah. And as a kid, I watched her be honest with the men. Now, were they honest with her? I don't know. But when they didn't do what they needed to do, my mother was like, child, bye. I don't have to stand for this. I don't have to tolerate the lies and the disrespect. And I watched her be that woman. That's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we're talking about today.
That would be my mom. My dad has multiple kids. I'm the only by my mom. He was married when I was, born. My mom knew about her. I don't think it was poly then, but right. And my mom wasn't, probably excited about it. But my dad, rest his soul, he was involved with every last one of us. I know my dad very well, but to go to my mom's not married now, and I'm thinking, you've been alone for a long time. You ain't wanted to do nothing, but
and what's her response?
She like, I'm fine by myself.
My mother says the same thing.
And I'm thinking like, you won't know nobody?
And it's not from a place of, I don't need a man and I don't want a man. They've had the men that they've wanted, and they've loved the men that they wanted. And now in her 70s, she's enjoying her journey.
Sure, yeah.
This is interesting, y'all. Oh my God.
Conversations like this.
We're kind of touching on this, and we dig into our family histories. A whole lot of us have had some non-monogamy going on for a long time.
Absolutely.
What's different now is, before you just didn't talk about it, and for public appearances, you had these sort of acceptable family life, right? Mm-hmm. Now with the divorce rate, what it is, I think people are, with women being more empowered and having their own economic self-sufficiency, people are questioning this relationship script we've been given. Mm-hmm. This relationship escalator that you already mentioned. You go to school, you get your job, you get married, you have kids. Like, this is the roadmap that everyone's supposed to follow. And I think as a society, we're realizing this is not working for a whole lot of us. People are not staying married forever. They're not staying faithful. They're not.
Is it the roadmap or is it the bumps and the trauma that's keeping it from working?
Probably both.
Both.
I mean, even if you throw that roadmap out and you decide to do polyamory, you're still gonna have trauma to process. And,
Yes.
any relationship's gonna have it. But the point is that one size fits all model of relationships does not work for everyone. Everyone does not want that.
But if I look at the fatherless piece, I never saw one size fits all anything anyway.
Yeah.
No, I've normalized mama not having a real man or a man in the house. My mother didn't keep men rotating, living in the house. So that was not my journey at all.
Right.
But I didn't have a man in the house in that way. I was placed into homes and friendships where I could see the two-parent dynamic.
Right.
And not only just placed in the home, they became my other family.
Yeah.
And so their father became my father. So I saw it there, but not in my home. And so if I don't see it, how am I don't even know what I want.
But I didn't sit in my home, but I went to my dad's house.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you do have the kids that, like, you go to your dad's, I go over there on the weekends or the summer, and then
did
I'm
he have
home.
a relationship, a wife or a significant other?
Well, at some point, no, him and his ex-wife had divorced.
Okay.
She had moved on, and so my dad never got married after that. So he had relationships and stuff like that.
And see, that's what we're seeing.
But he was still always present in my life.
And I get that part in him being present. But how is this playing out in what we're looking at for our committed lifestyles, what we want for ourselves? Do we know?
Sometimes we don't know, but it is about really thinking about it, talking it through, journaling about it, whatever, figuring out what does intimacy look like for me? How am I going to receive pleasure from this intimacy? And why am I doing this? Like, so you mentioned sometimes people who are fatherless become hypersexual.
Yes. A lot of times.
A lot of times. The question, and we know why. We're trying to replace the person. We're trying to feel the physical love, the hugs we didn't get, whatever it is. But the question is, are we filling that up, right? Are we getting what we're looking for? Do you feel no? But you have to ask yourself that question. Am I satisfied with how I'm conducting myself? And some people are perfectly satisfied, find pleasure from multiple sexual partners, and do not feel empty afterwards. They feel fulfilled. They meet their intimacy needs elsewhere or with some of those sexual partners, and they're perfectly fine. That's not everybody.
Right.
But that can happen. But if you're having multiple sexual partners and feeling empty and not having, feeling like I'm still missing something, I need to continue to find, I'm searching, that's when you're like, okay, wait a minute. I'm not getting what I want out of sex. I need to figure that out and figure out, like, so what is it that I need to fix so that I can have this pleasurable sex and intimacy life that's not being marred by me searching for something that I can't get from that?
I want to ask this question. Because we're talking about the adult space, right? But I work with the kids.
Sure.
How are the kids dealing with this? Once they grow up, because we're talking about babies right now, but once they grow up and notice what's really going on, how do the children relate to this? Because it's going to, I know for a fact, I'm telling you, I got some people I know, the children struggle with this at first. Struggle with the idea daddy's going to cheat on mommy or daddy's going to have somebody.
Again, back to what she's saying, depends on how they're brought up in the household. If that's what they know, then they probably will be more accepting of it. Just like we knew to get married. When I think back to why I got married, it wasn't probably all like, it was a little bit of, this is a part of life or what you do. So if they're given the blueprint of, it's okay to have a partner, healthy, this is what the conversation is, because this is their conversation on relationships and being with someone, then that's their norm.
I will be honest with you, not all parents are communicating that
Oh, no,
in the
they're
midst
not.
of that happening. And that's why it's detrimental to the children. And I want to bring up the fact, because you talked about the blueprint. Here's the blueprint. The blueprint truly is monogamy, polygamy, as well as polyamorous have a mission. And when I talk to people who don't have a lifestyle that I'm willing to live, there's a mission behind it. When I talk to my friends who are polygamous, there's a mission and everybody has a task. Polyamorous, it sounds the same way. Everyone has an idea and a mission in the relationship, and a purpose in being in the relationship. Can we handle that?
Like all things, it depends on the people who are doing it. There are, before I learned about polyamory in grad school. I just kind of knew it was a thing. But when I found myself divorced and thinking about doing this lifestyle for myself, I spent a year reading books, podcasts. I was getting myself ready for this, right? Which was helpful because then when certain things happened, I had read or listened to a podcast or something that prepared me for this issue. Like when my partner, as happens to men oftentimes, especially if you start in a monogamous relationship, you open up, the men are like, oh, I'm about to get all kinds of action. And it's their wife or their girlfriend who's the one.
That's what people are thinking.
And that happened to me. Me and my partner started dating during hot girl summer, and she was having her hot girl summer. But I knew that was a thing. And so for me to be able to process her getting more action than me, I was prepared for that. Some folks just dive into this because they heard the word polyamory, or they saw Red Table Talk or whatever, and they haven't really done the preparation to really understand the lifestyle and how you work through these issues, and then you get problems.
Can we build legacy from this, or are we, if we are in a polyamorous situation? Because I need to get into, do we have children? Don't we have children in these situations? But we don't have time for that. But can we build a legacy with this, or because of our trauma and we're not working through it, are we now creating another fatherless generation?
We can definitely have legacy out of this, but it is about making sure you are honest with your children.
It's intentionality.
It's very intentional. It's very intentional. When you just kind of haphazardly kind of falter through, then that's where you have the potential for a fatherless generation. But when you're intentional, you know what you want, and the children, we can start talking about pleasure with children as toddlers.
You're trying to mess people up right now, Dr. Ayanay.
Toddlers, your toddler should know what pleasure is, and so when you have to have a poop, and your tummy doesn't feel good, and then you poop and that's relief. That's a pleasurable feeling. That's talking about pleasure with a toddler.
But when you say that,
right, and you continue that, and it becomes, you developmentally, you release things in a developmentally appropriate manner. It's the same thing with polyamory, right? With any of this, you release the information in a developmentally appropriate manner, and when they, like you said, when they grow up with it, when the children grow up with it.
You're sharing something with me right now, because I'm telling you, my mind is just going.
What about the same-sex households?
Right.
That's something that they have to learn. Of course, they go to school and you get teased and things of that nature, and they have to be worked.
But that's more open. I'm telling you, I don't know if enough parents who are in polyamory, who are trying to live, like polygamy doesn't mean everyone lives under the same roof, right? Sometimes people live in different spaces and places, and so the children never even interact with them. And in that situation, there's still dishonesty with the children, where the children don't know until a certain age. And once you make it a discussion at that age, they're not taking it so well, because I've learned what this is supposed to look like, just like we all learned. They've learned that thing too. But what I do hear from this conversation is the honesty, no matter what the situation is, monogamy, polygamy, or polyamory. That creates a safe space, and it kills or breaks generational trauma and curses. That's what I hear from this. And you can, even though I may have started out fatherless, looking for whatever hypersexual, I can bring this back as long as I do the work and do the work on the trauma piece. And that's what I'm hearing today.
And polyamory should not naturally lead to fatherlessness. In fact, the folks I know, the families I know who are polyamorous and have kids, they have more parents, right? They've got mom and dad, they've got mom's boyfriend coming over.
They have the village.
Got dad, they got the whole village concept. So these kids are surrounded with more love. Part of polyamory is discussion about safe sex, family planning, all those sorts of things. And when I see Nick Cannon having all these children, my question is, why are you having unprotected sex with all these women? And
Can we have that
we don't know what their conversations are.
We don't.
I guess this is planned or anticipated. But I think it's part of the problem with having Nick Cannon or Will and Jada be sort of the face of this, is that there are, I think, reasonable critiques people could make of the way that they are doing these relationships.
And so you're calling Will, you brought this up twice, you're calling Will and Jada a polyamorous situation.
Yeah, they did finally come out and sort of admit. I was personally a little annoyed that it took them so long to finally
Because everybody,
say it.
I said it in
Everyone knew
I
it,
said it in
yeah.
my other podcast that everyone has been asking the question, are they together,
But
not
I
together?
like that in a sense. It's not, really our business, but because they're public figures.
And not only that, they put it out there. Nick Cannon is putting this out there. People aren't just taking pictures of him with these women. He is doing full-on photo shoots.
Yeah.
Okay? And releasing this information, so you lead people to a place of speculation. Look, we could go on and on. I need to wrap this up.
Sure.
I need to wrap this up. I know. Oh my gosh.
Let's do a part two.
Well, I want to know if y'all want to hear a part 2. I'm going to talk about what we learned today. What I learned today is this is about equality. I ain't doing it for me, but it is about equality if you do it right and if you're honest. I do feel like there are places and spaces, if people are irresponsible with it, you are not creating the legacy. You're creating another fatherless generation. And I'm going to tell you, this is all about I've Got Daddy Issues, and I'm Dr. Torri J. Next week, is Cam Newton right? You get in the bag, you getting this and you getting that. But can you be quiet? He said. And do you know how to cook is the question. So we'll see you guys next time.